Hello and welcome to our webinar, How EIS Reduced Costs by 20% and Optimized SAP by Leveraging the Cloud. Before we begin, I have a few housekeeping items. The deck and recording will be sent out via email to all participants in 2 to 3 days. There is a white paper available for download in the handout section of the control panel. We will have a live Q&A session following the webinar. Please feel free to submit your questions in the questions panel located in your control panel at any time throughout the webinar, and we will address them live during the Q&A portion. If for any reason we could not get to your question, we plan on responding to each personally through email. Thank you for attending How EIS Reduced Costs by 20% and Optimized SAP by Leveraging the Cloud. My name is Bill Tim. I'm a solutions architect at AWS, and I will be your host and moderator for today's webinar. Today, I'm joined by Ravi Padmanabhan of Velocity and Doug Morris of EIS. I will start today's webinar by providing an overview of Amazon Web Services for SAP customers. The AWS SAP relationship started in early 2008 when SAP began using AWS themselves as a customer. SAP continues to use AWS today for a variety of use cases, including running SAP demo, developer, and training systems on AWS, offering trials and developer editions of many of their solutions on AWS via the SAP Cloud Appliance Library. SAP also uses AWS for some of their solution offerings. For example, the SAP National Security Services Organization runs SAP SuccessFactors for the national security community in the AWS GovCloud region. AWS began our SAP partnership in early 2011 as an SAP Global Technology Partner. Since 2011, AWS and SAP have worked closely together to certify the AWS Cloud for SAP solutions and to develop innovative solutions to enable SAP customers to accelerate their digital transformations. The AWS Cloud Platform provides SAP customers many benefits. AWS currently offers over 90 cloud services. Our breadth and depth of services enable organizations to improve business efficiency and more easily integrate their SAP application workloads with emerging technologies like IoT, artificial intelligence, and big data. Running your SAP workloads on AWS enables you to reduce total cost of ownership. With AWS, you have access to low-cost IT infrastructure that you can rapidly provision and deprovision on demand, helping to minimize the overhead associated with hardware maintenance. Cloud security at AWS is the highest priority. As an AWS customer, you will benefit from a data center and network architecture built to meet the requirements of the most security-sensitive organizations. AWS cloud compliance and assurance programs enable customers to understand the robust controls in place at AWS to maintain security and data protection in the cloud. AWS and SAP have worked together closely to certify the AWS Cloud Platform so SAP customers can be ensured that they will receive the same level of support from SAP when running on AWS as they do today. SAP products based on SAP NetWeaver 7.0 or higher have been certified and are fully supported by SAP for production on AWS. These include solutions like SAP Business Suite applications, SAP Business Warehouse, SAP S/4HANA, BW for HANA, and many others. SAP database solutions including SAP HANA, SAP ASE, IQ, and Replication Server, and the SAP mobile solutions are also all supported on AWS. All of the x86 operating system platforms supported by SAP are supported for running SAP solutions on AWS, and all of the database platforms supported by SAP for NetWeaver-based solutions, including SQL Server, Oracle Database, and the others are also supported on AWS. The Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud, or EC2, is a web service that provides secure, resizable compute capacity in the cloud. The AWS On-Demand Cloud Platform has been certified to meet the high performance requirements of SAP HANA and is fully supported by SAP for production HANA workloads. AWS enables you to provision infrastructure for SAP HANA on demand with no required upfront cost, commitment, or lead time. With AWS, you only pay for the amount of infrastructure you provision and only for the amount of time needed. EC2 instance types are available and certified for SAP HANA with up to 4 terabytes of memory for scale-up systems and up to 34 terabytes for scale-out systems, with plans for larger instance types in the near future. The AWS cloud is built on a global infrastructure comprised of regions and availability zones. A region is a physical location in the world where we have multiple availability zones. Availability zones consist of one or more discrete data centers, each with redundant power, networking, and connectivity housed in separate facilities. Availability zones offer you the ability to operate production applications and databases which are much more highly available, fault-tolerant, and scalable than would be possible from a single data center. The AWS cloud currently operates 44 availability zones within 16 geographic regions around the world, with plans for 14 more availability zones and 5 more regions in China, France, Hong Kong, Sweden, and a second AWS GovCloud region in the US. To help you begin your journey to the cloud, we have created a set of resources to assist you. On the SAP section of the AWS website, you can find SAP white papers, blog posts, and frequently asked questions covering topics like SAP on AWS migration, operations, backup recovery, licensing, high availability, and disaster recovery. You can also find AWS infrastructure pricing estimates for sample SAP architectures. To accelerate and simplify the deployment of SAP HANA on AWS, we have built the SAP HANA Quick Start reference deployment that automates the provisioning of all of the required AWS infrastructure components for an SAP HANA system. The SAP Rapid Migration Test program is a set of processes and procedures and tools SAP developed in collaboration with AWS to help customers understand the cost, effort, potential risk, and business value of migrating SAP solutions to SAP HANA. With this program, the test migration of an SAP solution from any database to SAP HANA can be completed in days versus weeks or months compared to other infrastructure options. A test migration to SAP HANA on AWS can be done with minimal infrastructure costs, since you only need to pay for the amount of infrastructure required and only for the amount of time needed without a long-term commitment. To help you with your journey to the cloud, the AWS Partner Network, or APN, contains SAP partners that can help you migrate existing SAP environments to AWS, implement new SAP solutions on AWS, or test SAP solutions on AWS. APN SAP partners can also provide ongoing SAP hosting or managed services on top of AWS. Additionally, there are APN SAP partners that offer software solutions to address specific areas like high availability, backup and recovery, and system migration and replication. This is the perfect time to transition the webinar to one of our APN SAP partners, Velocity. I'm going to pass control over to Ravi Padmanabhan of Velocity, who will take over the webinar from here.
Hey, thank you, Bill. Hello, everybody. My name is Ravi Padmanabhan, and I lead the global SAP business at Velocity. Over the next 20 minutes or so, I'll be sharing details of how Velocity is using software-led innovation along with AWS's dynamic cloud infrastructure to help enterprises such as yourselves derive more value from your SAP applications that run on AWS. To introduce Velocity, Velocity Technology Solutions is a privately held cloud managed services provider specializing in enterprise applications. We leverage our proprietary software-defined applications management platform to deploy and manage enterprise applications such as SAP in the cloud. Now, as an advanced AWS partner, we have over 100 certifications and accreditations across the professional, associate, and business levels. And VCAMP, our software-defined cloud applications management platform, is fully integrated with AWS. So this provides enterprises, flexibility, control, and visibility of their critical applications running at AWS. Velocity is a certified provider of SAP cloud hosting, cloud services, and HANA operations. In addition, we're also a SAP certified applications management provider with a range of functional expertise across various modules and business processes. In addition to applications management, we deliver value through our advanced analytics software, cloud automation software, and professional services. And finally, our 7x24 global delivery centers, which span 3 continents, help bring deep functional application and industry expertise to our customers. Velocity is, in terms of automation, using automation in our software-defined applications management platform, our focus is on creating high-value deliverables and business results for enterprises running SAP apps. Now, with this software-led approach for applications management, we're able to automate a number of routine activities required to keep your SAP applications current and fully functional. Our software application platform enables quick deployments for fully configured, ready-to-use SAP SIDs within a matter of hours. Automation of other common actions such as system refreshes or client copies, etc., allows our enterprise customers to leverage the dynamic cloud infrastructure at AWS and to scale their SAP infrastructure in alignment with changing business requirements. So in a nutshell, through our cloud application platform, enterprises running SAP can benefit from efficiency gains that arise from speed and flexibility in conjunction with improved economics. Our value proposition to enterprises really focuses around 3 key tenets. Number 1, improving the cost of running and managing SAP applications. We target anywhere from 20 to 40% for the reduced total cost of ownership. Secondly, we supplement enterprise teams with deep industry application and business process expertise, so really providing domain expertise when needed. Third, we offer a portfolio of flexible offerings that can be consumed as needed. So whether it's an AMS, project support, or software services, through our cloud management platform, they can all be delivered as a consumption-based offering. And finally, our analytics solution with Zoom for SAP helps provide deep insight into application usage. So this allows enterprises to benefit from productivity improvements and process optimization types of initiatives. So let's look at some of the common issues for enterprises running SAP applications. Now, as businesses evolve, there's a continuous demand for IT infrastructure, such as storage volumes, compute, etc. This continues to put pressure on capital investments. Secondly, the cloud is here, and the speed of cloud adoption, both from an infrastructure and an application functionality perspective, continues to grow. So enterprises need to embrace it and must have a plan for adoption. From a HANA standpoint, HANA and its inherent benefits from the technology perspective make transformation a key element of the application roadmap. And finally, the ability for you to address all of these strategic moves using or within a fixed budget is also critical. So if you're running SAP applications today, there's a high likelihood you're facing some, if not all of these challenges, right? So let's talk about how we can leverage the AWS dynamic cloud infrastructure and software-led innovation to overcome these challenges. VCAMP is purpose-built for SAP on AWS. Using DevOps techniques for software automation, we have tightly integrated SAP applications with AWS automation. Our platform enables enterprises running SAP to take advantage of AWS capabilities without necessarily investing in the skills and capabilities related to AWS. So this allows them to improve both the cost and the time for cloud adoption while keeping their employees focused on their core competencies. Our software-defined applications management platform is a cloud orchestration engine for enterprises on the public or hybrid cloud. Now, it's been designed and developed by a combination of software engineering professionals who've teamed closely with seasoned SAP technical architects and AWS cloud orchestration specialists. So as you look on this slide, there are various modules. They're categorized under service management, service optimization, and platform analytics. The service management modules represent, either user or operator triggered action with functionality, so such as a service catalog, provisioning, etc. Service optimization modules represent more of the automation and system-driven actions that help in running and managing the enterprise app. And finally, platform analytics represent the end user facing functionality, displayed via real-time information sharing about the performance or usage of the applications that are being administered by VCAMP, the overall platform itself. Now, through offering standardization that's really digitizing service management and using automation for service optimization, enterprises directly benefit from higher reliability and improved response times for their SAP applications. And in addition to all that, they get increased visibility from platform analytics. And that's how we bring all of this together for our enterprise customers interested in SAP. Now, our platform analytics engine called Zoom for SAP provides real-time visibility of how end users actually interact with their applications. Using metadata, Zoom for SAP gives great insight on the functional utilizations of the various SAP modules. What this does is it enables the optimal alignment of your service management strategy. Now look at the screenshot from our Zoom for SAP application. It shows a view at the T-code level indicating actual system usage across various modules and highlights levels of application consumption. So if you look at the top half of the screen, it shows you like the various modules, whether it's logistics or production planning, and unknown in this case or other is really kind of your Z programs. The bottom half displays more of the aggregation of T-codes and the level of usage, including user counts, number of sessions, etc. So you're able to get visibility, and then these can be spread out between various forms of a timeline, whether it's daily, weekly, monthly. There's trending as well that's available. Now, all of this data can be used to assess process bottlenecks or user workloads, consumption, etc., which really help enterprises improve corrective action based decision making. Another screen view from Zoom for SAP is a quick snapshot of various system activity metrics, such as system availability, or online and batch transaction heat maps, or your batch jobs and the utilization of that, number of users and their logins. One of the key benefits with Zoom for SAP is the ability to get quick and easy access to key information such as this without actually having to go through Solution Manager. So this is a real-time visibility of the utilization of your SAP applications as it runs in the cloud. While deploying SAP applications on AWS, here are some best practices that we follow. Network isolation. So we ensure that we provide each customer with VPC and VLAN isolation. Secondly, we also design seamless connectivity between the customer's data center and AWS. So in addition, we also utilize advanced security features such as two-factor authentication, etc. Our design includes physical separation of the customer's production and non-production instances by availability zone. And finally, we also perform host validation to ensure that our customers' processing patterns are actually vetted prior to their environments being provisioned and placement, so that this way they're not sharing hosts with incompatible businesses or consumption levels. Going to the next section of our solution, and this is really about the core benefit of our automation approach focused on what we call application lifecycle management. It's critical to provide continuous improvement for enterprises after they've moved their SAP applications to the cloud, because this actually delivers value over an extended period of time. We've developed automation across a number of commonly used functions that are required to keep your applications current and optimized. So let's look at a couple of these. On the top right-hand side, common requests. Automation to execute system refreshes or client copies eliminates the need for these labor-intensive projects, right? So with this technique, you can actually shrink your system refreshes to a matter of hours with an optimized or very limited human involvement. If you look down at the bottom there, deep integrated application monitoring, another example. This provides automation of incident management tied in with advanced monitoring for improved problem resolution. So monitoring agents can trigger and create incidents based on predefined thresholds. Hence, you can eliminate the dependency for manual monitoring and alerts, etc. There are various other examples of automation as well, automated healing being another one. This is a common requirement where a VM might have stopped functioning and needs to be automatically restarted. Again, leveraging concepts of automation and integrated monitoring, we're able to trigger these actions as these events happen, which really means for the end user, you don't see performance degradation and you have the best experience possible on the application itself. Now, with an automation infrastructure in mind, we're going to look at 3 common use cases where we could effectively use this automation to achieve business benefits. Dynamic scaling, we're going to look at managed disaster recovery, and elasticity. With dynamic scaling, this situation is most common when handling seasonal demand for additional computing resources. A typical example would be an enterprise that launches a marketing promotion. This then drives a temporary jump in sales orders and then has a downstream effect that results in a spike in shipping requests. Now, by sensing the increased sales order activity, our advanced analytics engine Zoom actually could trigger a request to provision additional app servers, right? And hence it mitigates performance bottlenecks for the shipping requests. So similarly, at the end of the promotion event, as the sales volumes go down, there's additional capacity on app servers that have been deployed and integrated into your production infrastructure would automatically be decommissioned. Hence, your operating costs come back to a norm, or they're reduced. And the net result of all of that is really for the enterprise, it results in optimized costs, improved user experience, and more importantly, your business objectives have been attained. In terms of managed disaster recovery, this is an example of where redundant infrastructure can be made available in case of a contingency event. So once again, leveraging our automation software, we can rapidly activate and refresh production instances, which still allow us to meet, the disaster recovery SLAs. So in addition, the ability to leverage the always available infrastructure from AWS, allows for the enterprises to minimize their infrastructure spend. But at the same time, we're able to meet the compliance requirements for the business related to contingency events or disaster recovery type of situations. The third use case is around elasticity, and it's tied in with the concept of rapid provisioning. So in this use case, enterprises can use short-term SAP instances or SIDs, right, to supplement their production landscape or development requirements. Our automation platform here enables rapid deployments for additional SIDs, and then it's combined with system refresh and restore processes so that business users can get rapid access to environments that simulate kind of production-ready data. So we're able to spin up target environments, produce a restore and refresh from a recent production environment. So this basically provides flexibility for teams to perform either deeper unit or integration testing using this production simulated data, or maybe meet broader like quality assurance or training requirements for various end user projects. Again, the ability to meet business demands without taxing your IT infrastructure and without restricting yourself with the constraints of your SAP system size or your landscape, all add value by leveraging automation. Now, as we start wrapping up this section, let's look at the economic benefits of automation itself. Now, it's important to note that traditional approaches require a combination of people, process, and technology-related tools to perform a number of standard routines. With automation and standard procedures, however, we can deliver efficiency and more consistency across many common routines, right? So as noted in this illustration on the right-hand side, you can see an enterprise reducing their total cost of ownership by well over 50%, 58% when leveraging automation. This really comes back to, automation is great, it provides convenience, efficiency, but at the end of the day, it results in economic benefits, which is a very, very powerful statement when it comes to running your SAP applications on a dynamic cloud infrastructure like AWS. So at this time, let me turn this over to Doug, the Director of IT at a global enterprise that runs SAP and has successfully taken advantage of VCAMP's automation and elasticity capabilities to bring high value to the stakeholders in his business communities. Doug?
Yeah, thank you, Ravi. As Ravi said, my name is Doug Morris. I'm the Director of IT at EIS. So a little bit about EIS. We are a wholly owned subsidiary of Genuine Parts Company, which is most known for its Napa Auto Parts brand. We're also one of America's leading distributors of process materials, production supplies, and specialty wire and cable. We're just about $1 billion company based in Atlanta, and we have approximately 1,500 employees. And from an SAP standpoint, we're running ECC 6.0. We also use business objects and SAP process orchestration for middleware and EDI solutions. When I first joined EIS a couple of years ago, we had many challenges in front of us. We were running SAP on an AS400 that had reached end of life, and the business was also asking for new SAP technology that was not compatible with the AS400. So we knew that we needed a new system. We also knew that we wanted to transition our on-prem data center to a hosting company that specialized in SAP. And in doing so, we required the flexibility to spin up new SAP environments quickly and the ability to do away with them when they were no longer needed. So basically what we were looking for was an environment for our developers to play in, a place for our QA team to test long-term projects using real data, and we needed that without disrupting the production support and the production transport path. And our last challenge, pretty much the same as most companies, we wanted to reduce our total cost of ownership and our overall IT spend. So we had quite a few requirements when we were looking for a hosting partner. So for our solution, we decided to migrate our total SAP environment to Velocity's cloud. In addition to that, we signed up with Velocity's managed services to augment my IT staff. Reason being, we realized that their expertise and depth was far greater than that of my team's. And in doing so, we've gone from just being able to keep the lights on to being able to innovate and take advantage of new technologies that previously we didn't have the right skill set in-house to take advantage of. For that last bullet point, on the previous slide, I mentioned that we wanted the ability to spin up new SAP environments on the fly. With Velocity's VCAMP solution, we've been able to have a full production-sized sandbox built in AWS in just 4 days. So that was huge for us because normally it would take us several weeks to provision the hardware, build out the environment, and migrate the production data. So this approach has allowed us to be much more nimble when taking on new projects. We can always blow it away whenever we no longer need it. So for the results, it pretty much speaks for themselves. The speed of migration to Velocity Cloud took a total of 6 months. This included our SAP dev, QA, and production environments for ECC, BobJ, and process orchestration. And we also changed our operating system and database during that 6-month window, which was no small task. From a cost reduction standpoint, the solution was very much appealing to us, not just from a technical standpoint, but also financially, because we didn't have that huge outlay of CapEx dollars to move to a brand new system. So it's one of those rare occurrences where the finance team is just as happy with the outcome as the IT team was. And again, with flexibility, we talked about the ability to create new environments quickly, but we also have the flexibility to increase or decrease capacity as needed, as Ravi had mentioned previously. So for example, end of month is always a busy time for us. And in the past, we struggled with having enough system resources available. But since switching to Velocity and the VCAMP solution, we no longer have that problem. The system is right-sized for us, but whenever we have spikes in workload, like end of the month, we can always adjust the system resources as needed. So for the benefits, I think the most important thing here is that everything that Velocity has promised they were going to be able to do for us, they've been able to deliver on. The migration, moving our whole architecture to the cloud in 6 months, and changing our operating system and database while being seamless to the user is almost unheard of. And quite honestly, I didn't think that Velocity would be able to hit that six-month target, but they did. And in fact, we never even told our users what we had done. All they did was they noticed the system was running faster for some reason. From the time savings, I didn't mention this previously, but our most widely used report, which runs in all 45 of our branches multiple times a day, used to take up to 30 minutes to run. But with Velocity's team, who optimized the report and the processing power that they put in place, we've gotten those run times for that report from 30 minutes down to 2 minutes. So that's been a huge time saver for our users. And on that last graphic, that's really big for us also. We went from an outdated system to a state-of-the-art industry standard system. We now have access to much better SAP talent without having to use high-cost consultants, and we're able to reprocess 3 full-time employees. So we were able to do all of that while saving 20% annually at the same time. So I really couldn't be happier with the outcome we've had with choosing Velocity and moving to the cloud. So that wraps up the presentation, and I'm going to pass it back to Bill for a Q&A session.
Great, thanks, Doug. Yes, and we do have some questions here in the queue. first few are for you, Ravi, from a velocity perspective. First question, what is the typical time frame to migrate an SAP system to the cloud using your automation platform?
Yeah, hey, thanks, Bill. Yeah, so that's a pretty generic question, but the answer is, it depends. But I would say, on an average, for a homogeneous migration, we plan for it's an average of about 3 months, and that includes, the technical migration is actually very short. It's really about the enterprise being able to allocate resources to do acceptance testing and validation, which typically takes 4 to 6 weeks, depending on how you organize your migration plan. But I would say a safe timeline is about 3 months.
Great, thank you. And next one, related question is, how do you handle the downtime required for the migration of a system? So if you have a source system that's several terabytes of data, how do you handle the downtime and the outage that's required to complete the migration?
Yeah, that's another great question, actually. So it requires careful planning, of course, and for many of our customers, downtime, as you can imagine, is critical. So to their business operations. So first of all, let me answer that in 2 parts. I think the first part was if it's a large database, we do have some great tools and technologies from AWS, such as Snowball, etc. So we leverage all of that, and all that is integrated into our VCAMP platform infrastructure. Secondly, the downtime aspect of it is really being able to plan your cutover and time it through trial runs and planning, so that you can minimize the cutover and any potential downtime over weekends or odd hours, etc. So it's a combination of technology and process, along with a pretty robust testing methodology that really kind of addresses that question.
Okay, great, thank you. Next question, what is the first step to understand the benefits and implication of migrating our SAP systems to the cloud?
So here, I always start off with let's make sure there's a business case for you to do it, and change is, nobody wants to go out and drive change for the fun of it. So you start off with, what are the challenges you're having, whether it's, an upcoming CapEx spend because of, system limitations, if there is an upgrade. So you're going to look for what I would call, classic trigger events that force you to change. At that point, or even a HANA transformation, for example, right? So these are all, and there are many things like that in today's environment for customers running SAP environments. So that's the best time to look at a cloud migration, because done right, you're probably going to have the economic benefits from moving to the cloud that could actually help you fund all, or if not a significant portion, of what that change was. So if it's a transformation to HANA, it could end up paying for your potential migration to HANA, right? Because of the cost savings. So I always start off with let's build out kind of your overall business case of why you would do it, and then highlight and identify and quantify the benefits that you would achieve. And then from there, you would go into kind of a timeline and project kind of approach of which ones you would attack first and why, based on priorities.
Great, thank you. Next question is, how does Velocity handle SAP system refreshes once the SAP environment is running on AWS?
So I think I covered this on a couple of slides. A bulk of our investments has been in building intellectual property that ties SAP functionality with AWS infrastructure. So what that allows us to do is things like system refreshes, which require SAP commands. We have integrated that into the VCAMP platform, and because there is unlimited infrastructure available at AWS, we can call up, spin up new environments using APIs, which then allows us to trigger our extract, restore, refresh routines. Which is all part of our automation platform. So what's typically done with organizing a project team or a couple of people, scheduling a weekend and trying to figure out the time frames, etc., you can actually execute a lot of this in the background and then use your people to be more kind of handling exceptions versus being hands on the keyboard. So that's basically the leveraging the advantages of the automation platform itself we get.
Yeah, and that was actually the next question is, can you describe in more detail the benefits of the Velocity automation platform on top of AWS, the value it adds beyond the AWS services themselves?
Right. So when we look at total cost of ownership, there is a significant TCO advantage by moving to a dynamic infrastructure from AWS. Right. That's part of your compute, your infrastructure as a service component, and on top of that, the cost for you to run and manage your application, the services layer itself, typically is, for every dollar on infrastructure, you're spending somewhere between $3 and $5 on services. So for that tier, there is a tremendous value proposition to optimize that through a combination of reduced support costs, and reduced support costs can come in multiple flavors. It's obviously using smarter people and the expertise, but more importantly, for every or most of the common routines which you require around patching, around client copy, system refreshes, performance tuning, security enhancements, etc. By leveraging our automation platform, we actually take the labor out of the process. So as a result of eliminating or significantly reducing labor, we're driving a cost benefit back to the enterprise at the services layer as well. So now when you combine the benefits of the services layer along with the benefits from an AWS infrastructure layer, it's a 2 + 2 = 5 type of value proposition back to the customer. I would say, leading with optimizing your cost is number one. Being able to free up your key resources to do more strategic projects or to do more higher level work is another one. And third is really the ability to get flexibility, right? So the need based on your business's demands, whether it's up or down, you can now dynamically allocate infrastructure to your applications versus having to do traditional CapEx related processes.
Great, thank you. Next question is, if we were to migrate our SAP environment to AWS, how is integration handled with systems that either are still on premises or other external systems to the SAP environment that need to be integrated?
So from an SAP perspective, typically what we look at is not just the core SAP application itself. We also cover all of your bolt-ons or third-party, your common Vertex and other kinds of applications that go with pretty much every SAP environment out there. So the migration is really, a comprehensive landscape of all the applications and associated applications. So and that operates, just like an on-prem infrastructure. It is on AWS, and they're all tightly integrated. Now, if the enterprise has other legacy applications which either they're not ready to move to AWS yet, or if they are part of a second phase or a third phase, then typically the SAP applications integrate with them through their standard protocol, whether it's an RFC or whatever other integration is required, or if they have a third-party integration engine. We mimic all of that integration just like the applications were running on-prem. There was really no difference because all we've done is taken fixed infrastructure, moved it to the AWS Dynamic Cloud, and then everything at the application layer will continue to behave and operate as if they were in-house. There's really no difference. We handle all of the configuration, whether it's security related or opening up certain ports or whatever is needed from a connectivity perspective. Our teams can handle all of that and actually make it work for the customers.
Great, thank you. Next question, was there any unique automation used to migrate off the on-prem AS400 to AWS Velocity, or was just the standard DMO SWPM tools used?
Yeah, so we did have to follow DMO and follow the SWPM, but we do have a lot of ASW inherent expertise because we do, in addition to SAP, we also run a very, very large footprint of JD Edwards, and most of those applications run on the AS400 infrastructure. So what we did have was an advantage in terms of bringing our AS400 expertise along with our SAP domain expertise to the project itself.
Okay, great. Looking through the other unanswered questions, looks like the others we have left at this point are very specific, which we will follow up directly. I'm trying to see if there are any other general questions that might be of value to the audience. It does not look like it, so I'm not sure, Ravi, if any of the other moderators see any questions that you'd like to answer before we wrap up here. Go ahead and wrap things up here. Thank you all again for attending. Any questions we did not get to today, we will follow up via email. I invite you all to fill out the satisfaction survey after the webinar. As a reminder, you will receive an email within the next 2 to 3 days with a link to these slides on SlideShare and the recording of today's webinar. We want to thank you all very much for attending, and our speakers, Ravi and Doug. If you have any other questions, please don't hesitate to reach out directly. Thank you all for attending.